Greetings sailors, my name is Octodron and welcome to my YouTube video. I wasn't really sure how to start this video, so let's begin with a bit of a story time. Way back in June, I decided I want to start actually posting my art online. When I struggled to come up with an account name, I decided to take a Mascot out approach. I combined my love for marine biology and nautical theming to create my beautiful bouncing baby boy, Tako, the octopus sailor. The thing with Tako is that I kinda just went with the first design that came to mind, and the same goes for the rest of his crewmates, Lucien, Kat, and Fraser, who I have now renamed Sevi. The more I draw them and the more lore I make for them, the less satisfied I am with their designs. That's why today I'm steering this ship back onto course and giving my silly little guys the redesigns they deserve. Let's start with my mascot, Tako. First, I want to clear something up. Tako is not a persona, he is a mascot. Like a lot of my OCs, he has a lot of things in common with me, but he isn't, like, literally me. It's like how Mickey Mouse is not Walt Disney's persona. Unless? Back to my point. Tako is just the character I decided to base my account on, and isn't, like, a representation of myself. Now it's time for an info dump about the Octosqueeze, the fictional species all of the characters I'm talking about today belong to, as well as their world, Oceanus. Oceanus is a planet made almost entirely of seas. Like, if Earth is 71% ocean, Oceanus is 90%. There are humans, but their population is, like, much smaller than Earth's. They're spread out over several archipelagos and small continents. The main country in this story is Aquapolis, an artificial archipelago surrounding a central volcanic island. In this country, there's an agency formed to protect Aquapolis from monsters of the sea. The majority of this agency's members are Octosqueeze. No one really knows where Octosqueeze come from, but one thing's for sure, they are great at fighting sea monsters. These amphibious creatures appear to be anthropomorphic cephalopods who can shapeshift into more standard human forms. I could probably go on about their biology and culture, but I think you get the idea. Tako's pretty weird for an Octosqueeze because while other Octosqueeze are born and raised in human society, Tako spent his whole life living underwater. One day, while hunting for food, he is accidentally captured by the net of the rest of the crew, thinking him to be a sea monster. The crew quickly realized that he was one of their own and decided to keep him on board until they docked to ask the agency what to do. Tako surprised the crew with his intelligence. They certainly didn't expect Tako to pick up on their native language so fast. When their boat got attacked only a day away from shore, Tako also proved himself to be quite the skilled fighter. After much deliberation and paperwork from the agency, Tako was welcomed into the crew. Tako still has a hard time keeping his human form and will tend to revert back to his octo form when no one is looking. He is very hardworking and loves his job as a quote-unquote first mate. All he's really trusted to do is clean around the ship, but he's happy doing so. He's a bit mischievous, but doesn't ever let it get in the way of his work. Tako gets along best with Sevi. They are the youngest crewmates, and share a love for food and cooking that their crewmates can't match. Tako does not like cats and always smell like cigarette smoke and have an intimidating aura, but he does have a lot of respect for them. He also looks up to Lucien because of his seemingly infinite knowledge about the world. Tako's new design came relatively easily. First, I decided to retcon his inspiration from a common octopus to a Dumbo octopus. I think it suits his personality a lot more and gives me more fun design options. I made his hair a bit easier for me to draw by giving him like a solid part. Sadly, I had to get rid of the bun in the back of his hair. Now there are two pigtail thingies representing the Dumbo octopus's top fins. I also wanted to make his outfit a bit fancier, so I added some more details to his pants and shirt. Since he's the only character in this group wearing shorts, I gave him an undershirt so he wouldn't get chilly. I swapped his little hat for a larger beret, again so it's easier to draw. I think he's very cute. I want to squish him like a stress ball. Here he is! What a fancy little lad. Up next is Sevi, the ship's chef and most normal guy, debatably. Sevi is definitely the straight man of the group, both comedically and sexuality-wise. Growing up in an orphanage, Sevi is pretty used to the chaos of group living environments. From a young age, he always wore an eye patch over his left eye. The other kids found it weird and scary, so he tended to stick to himself. His favorite chore he was assigned was always cooking, but he did get reprimanded more than a few times for being too experimental with his meals. The day everything changed was the day he met the love of his life, Brandy. One day, while he was cleaning up, a group of older boys began teasing him about his eye patch. Usually, he was able to slip away, but this time he wasn't so lucky. They tore off his patch, revealing a sickly, bulging green eye. The bullies ran away, leaving Sevi with a broken eye patch. He tried his best to put it back on, but all he could do was cry. Suddenly, a girl his age, that he had never seen before, came to comfort him. She took the ribbon out of her hair and gave it to him for him to use until he could get a new eye patch. Once he was feeling a bit better, the strange girl ran off without telling him her name. The next day, he asked every kid in the orphanage who that girl was. Eventually, he found out her name was Brandy Beaumont, daughter of the orphanage's founder. As the years went on, Brandy and Sevi talked and fell for each other more and more. However, even though Brandy was practically nobility and could support Sevi and herself until the day they died, Sevi knew that her father would not give him her hand in marriage without a proper bride dowry. However, a boy who was never adopted like Sevi did not have that kind of money to give. So, even with the protests from his fiancée, he decided to join the agency. Such a dangerous job came with quite the benefits after all. All this has made Sevi the determined young man that he is today. He can be a bit stoic, but when he's passionate about something, it really shines through. One of his current favorite things to do is introduce Tako to foods from all around the world using ingredients he wouldn't dream of in the ocean. At first, Sevi doesn't like Lucien because he can't really understand why Lucy doesn't feel ashamed of himself for being so outwardly feminine and flamboyant. Eventually, he gains a respect and understanding of Lucy and femininity in general. But in the beginning, he is definitely a bit homophobic and misogynistic. Conversely, he sees Kat as the masculine ideal, even if they are, not a man. He has a lot of respect for them, but they find him a bit annoying. I really don't like his original design at all. Sevi is based on the strawberry squid. His old design certainly looked strawberry-y, but I feel like it could be stronger in general. His hidden green eye is inspired by the large eye the strawberry squid uses to see in the darkness of the ocean. His uniform is the most traditional sailor uniforms out of the group. With the way I colored it, he did kind of end up looking like an Azumanga Daioh character. He has long wavy hair that kind of looks like squid tentacles. He has a strawberry themed bandana over his hair, which also resembles the hood of a squid. His eye patch is pretty plain, which I think he likes, because it doesn't draw attention to it. I gave him a bit of facial hair, which is something I basically never do. Here he is. I think he turned out rather nicely. Let's move on to the next boy, Lucien. Lucien serves as the eccentric mechanic of the group, repairing and upgrading the ship almost constantly. He loves the ship more than anything in the world, but this is just one of his long string of loves that he's had throughout his life. Lucy's joining of the agency has less to do with his monetary needs than does, his constant need for excitement and entertainment. Lucy definitely has the most privileged upbringing out of the crew. Despite his wealth, however, Lucien never seemed to stick to one thing. He'd obsessively hone a craft for as long as it would take to reach a good enough quality and hop on to the next thing. Doing this, Lucy was able to get skills ranging from knitting and sewing to engineering and welding. He's also made quite a few connections in such communities. He adores social events and is well known among much of the upper class. His breaking of certain societal norms, such as gender presentation, is often forgiven due to his status as a true jack of all trades. Spending much of his time with the upper echelon of society, Lucien has taken to speaking in such a flowery way that makes it unclear if he's flirting with you or insulting you. With the crew, he often takes a simpler way of speaking, but he still loves to tease the rest of the crew. Specifically, he finds it very fun to tease Kat due to their serious exterior. Tako doesn't really understand the intricacies of human language, and Sevi can't take a joke, so neither of them are good to poke fun at. He does think Tako is very adorable and loves to make new outfits for him when he's not working. Out of all these designs, I definitely struggled the most with Lucy. I actually really liked his old design. I guess I got kinda caught up in the idea of redesigning, so I tried to fix something that wasn't broken. I did 2 sketches of him, and then I had to redo the line art, which you'll see in the speed paint. His design is inspired by a mixture of funeral wear, 80s businesswomen, and visual K-bands. At first I gave him a bob and bangs, but later I decided to give him back his original haircut. His blazer mixed with the golden pearl necklace and funeral hat makes him look very professional but also campy, which I guess suits his personality. His blazer flares out from under his corset in a way that gives him a very dramatic silhouette. And here he is! He turned out very pretty, even if he did give me a migraine. Oh Captain, my Captain! It's time for Captain Cat! Cat is a very serious individual. They're kinda like if Ron Swanson was a non-binary octopus. They take their job very seriously, but still aren't sure about their position as a captain. They served as a soldier for many years when they were younger during the war. Once the war ended, they went into an earlier retirement, boozing around and hitting up casinos every night and the like. Eventually, these nasty habits got them in with the wrong crowd. Strapped for cash, they decided to join the agency. They quickly rose up the ranks after single-handedly defeating many sea monsters. The problem is, they have absolutely no social skills. In reality, their aloof mannerisms are just a disguise for not knowing what to say or do in any social situation. Because of their past in the military, they're kinda conditioned to not get attached to anyone for fear of losing them to Davy Jones' locker, if you know what I mean. As time goes on, however, they find themselves caring more and more about the safety and happiness of their crew, which is a fact Lucy finds quite fun to tease them about. Overall, they see their subordinates as morons, but does see potential in them. They are a strong proponent of tough love, but they do let their soft side show every once in a while, much to the crew's confusion. I think their design makes them look quite suave. They're based on the common octopus. I want them to look kinda 1920s-y. To help with that, I reference both Betty Boop and her boyfriend, Fearless Fred. Their outfit is based off of ship captains, obviously, and lighthouse keepers. Their hair is tightly curled to their head, which from what I can tell is similar to some hairstyles of that era. They have a habit of smoking when they're stressed, so with their new position as captain, their lungs are probably disintegrating as we speak. Smoking kills, kids. Don't do smoking. Their new design isn't too different from their original. All that changed is that now they're less of a cat person, like literally cat person. Here they are, finished. I'm really proud of how they all came out. I feel like my character design skills have seriously improved over these 6 months. I'm really excited to draw these characters more often. You might notice that the sprite on screen is still Tako's old design. I'm gonna hold off on making new sprites until I hear some feedback on his design. Also, quick reminder before the video ends, my DTIYS is still going on until the 6th of May. Go check out my last video for more info. And that's all for today. Don't forget to octo-like and squidscribe. Bye bye and best fishes.